everybody, and welcome to Fear Fieldhouse for the second Doane University Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony this calendar year. We are delighted to have all of you here to celebrate the induction of two very special football teams into our Athletic Hall of Fame. The Doane Athletic Hall of Fame was established in 1996 to honor and preserve the memory of athletes, teams, and coaches at Doane University. At this time, I want to welcome to the podium Doane's 13th president and my college classmate, Dr. Roger Hughes. Roger. It's a great pleasure to have Roger back with us. Dr. Roger Hughes.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Roger Hughes. I'm the president at Doane University, and I'm sorry. And if you haven't heard, we're building the institution that everyone wants to be like. And I'm not interested in number 3, and I'm not interested in number 2. And that statement, which I intend to fill, amplifies excellence. And tonight, that's exactly what we're here to celebrate: excellence. The 1993 and 97 teams did exactly that. Not since the teams coached by Al Papik in the late 60s and early 70s had Doane teams achieved the level of success these teams of 93 and 97 achieved. If there are any members from the team of the 60s and 70s here, please stand. I know I saw some of them back earlier. I'd like to honor them, but it looks like they're probably out drinking as heavily as they used to when they were in the 60s. And we thank you, Eunice. I don't remember you scoring a touchdown, but I thank you for being in school at that time. Exactly. So just some stats I was going over with the team. You probably have some of those in your program, but the 93 team, some of the things they averaged. They averaged 37.2 points per game. Defense only gave up 13.7 points per game. Brad McClatchy had a single season record of 2,863 passing yards with 29 touchdowns. Where's Brad? Very nice, very nice. Joe Wilkins rushed for over 1,000 yards, 1,096 yards. Jeff Yoakum had 692 receiving yards. The defense held people to 281 yards per game, with Brent Berner leading the team in tackles with 86. Jason Malley, and Mark Brahmer each had 79 and 71 tackles respectively. Greg Mock had 6 sacks. And now current trustee Preston Renshaw had 7 interceptions on that team. Now, as we go fast forward to the 97 team, let's listen to the similarities. They averaged 33.3 points per game. The defense only gave up 16.6 points per game. Matt Railing threw for 2,186 yards and 18 touchdowns. I probably murdered a couple of these names, and I apologize. Jeremy Pytig had 570 yards receiving, and Troy Bothwell ran for 1,522 yards. Jason Hall led tacklers with 124 tackles. Heath Staples and Dan Thurin had 95 and 92 tackles respectively. Thurin had 11 sacks during that year. Sean Kelly had 7 interceptions, and the team had 55 takeaways. That's almost 3 to 4 takeaways a game, and that's how you win a lot of games. Football's really an easy game. Everyone has blitzes, certain kinds of run game, RPOs. It's about the ball. Football's about the ball. When you have it, keep it. If you don't have it, get it. It's really that simple. And this guy took it away 55 times. The 93 team had 28 all-conference selections. 19 of those were first and second team. They had 6 All-Americans. The 97 team had 22 all-conference selections, 12 were first or second team, and 6 All-Americans on that team as well. So Cody told me to be brief tonight, but I have 2 points of business that I have to handle for him. First, I would like all the members of the 93-97 team to stand up, please. I'm happy to announce that you are officially inducted to the Doane Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Well done. You may be seated. Some of you may need to be sit down a little quicker than others. So that's okay. Finally, I have one last charge, and it's going to start like this. The number one factor in determining the success or failure of any organization is the attitude of the leader. Leadership matters. And I think one of the greatest measurements of any leader is his or her ability to create more leaders. Look around this room right now and note the number of great leaders in this room. Fran Schwenk has had a hand in mentoring some truly very successful coaches like Bob Stitt, former head coach of Montana, who won national championships at Colorado Mines. He also mentored current head coach Lance Leipold, current head coach of Kansas, who achieved 100 wins faster than any coach in the history of college football. I speak to Lance about twice a week. He's one of my best friends. He was actually my graduate assistant when I went to Whitewater for my first job. And invariably, as we talk, one of us will say, I tell you what, kiddo, I tell you what, you're just super, just super attitude. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's all cheese and crackers, baby. It's all cheese and crackers. Gotta find a way to get it done. You just gotta find a way to get it done. And we have a good laugh, but deep down, we do it out of respect. And out of love for this man who helped both Lance and I and Bob when we didn't have a lot of options in coaching. Fran, thank you very much for all you've done for the coaches in the room and frankly, the leaders in this room. Please join me in welcoming Hall of Fame coach Fran Schwenk. Congratulations, my friend.
You know I speak very low. I just can't thank everybody enough. I want to start with the sport administration when we were here, all the boosters, managers, everybody that followed us and stuck with us, and especially the coaching staff. I've had some of the best coaches that I could ever want, and I think one of the most important things was that we had the stability, and we were together for a number of years, and you don't see that a lot. It's almost like a portal nowadays. Everybody's looking to move on, but we stuck together for almost 21 years, and that's exceptional. But I think most of all is the players that we had. I always said that if we were great coaches, we'd be undefeated every year. And it's the teams, the 93 team, 97 team, that just proved that you guys are special, very special. I'm very proud of you, proud of what you guys have become. In fact, I didn't recognize a lot of you because you got a lot better looking than when you were here. So, but just a big thank you from all of us, and assistant coaches, Tom, Gene, Dan, Bobby, Dale, Ed, if I haven't seen Ed yet tonight, but couldn't have done it without you, by all means. It was just a great place to be and a great group to be with, and you guys did her. Congratulations, man. You're Hall of Famers. You've always been a Hall of Famer in my book, and now you're really Hall of Famers. So thank you. Am I to introduce somebody? Good.
A couple of other things about Fran. He was our head coach for 21 years. Close friend of mine, and the winningest football coach in Doane's history. Fran was inducted into our Athletic Hall of Fame in 2008. Let's give it up for him again. Thanks, Fran. Tom Hood, our longtime defensive coordinator who was inducted into our Athletic Hall of Fame in 2016. Hoodie called the defense for both the 93 and 97 teams. Hoodie, would you like to share your wisdom? Okay. Thanks, Hoodie. That's Hoodie in a nutshell. Coach Bob Stitt, former Doane running back, and our offensive coordinator for the 93 team. I had the pleasure when Bob played at Doane. I happened to be in Orange City, Iowa on a rainy, cloudy afternoon. The field was muddy. And I saw number 30 take a handoff from our 1 yard line and take it to the end zone on the other end of the field. 99 yards, still a school record at Doane University. Stiddy, come on up. Come on up, because this is on YouTube. We want the audio. I know it's easier to say something from the back that we can't hear, but come on up, Stiddy. I know you want to say something about the 93 team. Tecumseh native Bob Stitt.
Thanks, Cody. You just gave me a microphone, watch out. And I'm faster now than I was back then. But that 93 team was a developmental thing that we brought some great kids in, and year after year, not always as a record did you see that improvement, what we knew we were getting better. You know, and that's what football was all about back then. Not so much now with the transfer portal. You bring good kids in, you develop them, and then all of a sudden the light went on. And through coaching, through my career of 34 years, there's always a point where the light goes on and they get it. And usually it's when they care more about doing their job for their teammates than for themselves. And that was what happened in 93. It was O, it was D, it was special teams, and that was an unbelievable season. And we got better as the season went along, and still hurts me that we didn't make the national championship, because I thought we should have been there. I thought we were good enough to be there. But to see some of these guys that I coached, and I was a couple years older than back then, and I apologize because every story I hear is how bad and what a mean guy I was back then, and I don't remember any of those stories. But anyway, it makes me feel good when they come up and tell me that it's because of the way you coached and you held us accountable. I'm better today and throughout my life because of that. And that's football. Football is life. You've seen those T-shirts. Football is life. It's exactly the same way. And everybody needs to be held accountable. We did that. The kids went out and did it. And I just want to know, Cody, how long can I go here? What's next? But anyway, it's great to be here. I haven't seen a Doane football game since we played in the playoffs in 1993. So it'll be 30 years since I've seen a game, and I can't wait to go out on that field and with these guys because that was my first experience of success as a football coach, and I was learning every day as those guys were doing it for us. And excuse me. But it's awesome to see them. And anyway, appreciate it, Cody. You let me come up and talk to everybody. I didn't expect this. I shouldn't have drank so much Tito's before I got up here. But anyway, thanks so much for everything. Everybody in this room, understands what Doane's all about. Doane is special, and people from the outside don't understand what we have, and that bond. When you hear somebody's from Doane, you just have an instant bond with them, and I'm so glad I made that decision to come play here. I am so glad Coach Neighbors, he called me every week until I finally said, okay, I'll come and play for you. And it was the best decision I ever made. And Fran, thank you so much for putting up with me. I was that young dude that I appreciate so much that Fran didn't kill me when I was coaching with, for him. And then Hoodie, man, we had so damn much fun, putting that game plan together every single week. It was unbelievable. So anyway, thanks everybody.
Thanks, Bob. Coach Bob Stitt. Stitty, I remember one thing you said in a practice. I think it might have been directed to the offensive line. Keith Ambrose is here, Dan McPherson is here, others are here, but I heard something about you guys are marshmallows. Remember that, Dan? You guys are marshmallows anyway, but they certainly weren't in games. There's no doubt about that. So Coach Stitt was the coordinator, offensive coordinator for the 93 team. And for the 97 team, our OC was Gene Walkenfuss, and Walk is down here. Gene, come on up. Welcome back to Doane.
Thank you, Cody. Appreciate it. Like Bob, I didn't play here, but I want to thank first Fran for taking a chance on me. I was at Superior High School, and prior to that, South Dakota State, and invited me to join the Doane family, and I really appreciate that, Fran. I learned a lot here. Through my coaching, I want to thank Tom Hood, standing in the back there having a beer, and all his staff and his players for just covering my butt as an offensive coordinator, especially early on, not really knowing what the heck I was doing. And thank you guys. I truly appreciate that. I really do. And most importantly, the players. Man, I tell you, I wrote down a little list here how I would describe the 1997 team, and I'm going to get to it in a second. But before that, I asked Rick Schmicker to send me the roster because I couldn't remember a lot of the names and the people. So he sent it to me this morning, and I looked at it. 111 team members. Now, not everybody survived. There was 111, 25 from out of state, okay? And let me tell you, there's a lot of memories that took place during that, not only 97 year, but the time that a lot of you guys were here. And I just really appreciate being a part of the Doane family. So how would I describe the 1997 team? I wrote down here, yes, we had some talent, okay? We had adversity. We had more bad offensive called plays than good. But probably the thing I think that really defines that team is we had more overachievers on that team in their position than any team I've been a part of, and I've been a part of a lot of them. And you can define overachievers a lot of different ways. But let me tell you, when they hit the field, it was overachievers that were together. And that's why we went into the semifinals 11-0. But I was trying to look for a word phrase that describes that team. And obviously we had players like a Matt Reiling who had a lot of piss and vinegar in him, okay? And we had players like Chad Boys that did not like to practice, but my Lord, he looked like an All-American when he comes on the field, okay? But the word phrase that comes to mind is, and I heard it numerous times in the locker room before the game, is let's find a way. We walked into every game. Didn't matter how good they were. It was let's find a way. And just a little refresher. The last game we all played together, okay, was in Findlay, Ohio. And we're all heartbroken that we didn't get to the national championship game. I feel it still. But I'm going to say this. Thank you, Tom Hood, for really elevating your players on the national stage, because that defense played a hell of a game to keep us in it. And thank you, offense, for really raising your game to a point where I've never seen it that whole season until that game. But unfortunately, we did come up short. But, man, how many lessons did we learn throughout the season and just that game in itself? So thank you again for the opportunity, Fran. You well deserve everything that has been brought to you through Doane College and every place you've been. And again, I thank you for the opportunity that brought me here as well. So I pray that everybody's life goes well, and God bless you all. And I hope to cross paths with some of you I didn't get a chance to talk to earlier. So have a good night.
Thank you, Gene. Our team captains on the 93 team, Brad McClatchy, who is here tonight, Mark Bramer, who is not here tonight because his son Ben is playing at Iowa State as a freshman, and they are not able to be here tonight, but I asked Brad to come up and speak. Brad got into our Hall of Fame within the last 5 years. Coach Stitt did a great job of speaking on his behalf. Brad was the person that made that offense go in 93. We had lots of tools, but number 14 made it happen. He's one of our team captains. So Brad, why don't you come on up and share with us about that team. Brad played at Lincoln Southeast, and I'll tell you what, we're sure glad he came to Doane.
Well, I wish you would have told me that I was going to have to do this before I got up here. All right, where do I start? I'm happy to be here, love to be here, so honored to be here. I was fortunate enough to get inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame a couple years ago. I was riding down here tonight with one of my best friends, Craig Rockwell, one of my best receivers, not the only receiver, but one of the best receivers. Sorry, Schmitty. And it was one of the things I brought up was that he's like, so where did you get recruited when you left Southeast, when you were coming out of high school? And I'm like, dude, Fran was the only person that came to my house. I'm like, if I wouldn't have seen that guy, if he wouldn't have came to my house, I don't know if I would have played college football. I really don't. I really do not know if I would have been in the place that I'm at. So thank you. I really want to thank the coaches that were involved in our year, Fran Schwenk, Bob Stitt, Sean Weigel, Hoodie, Ed Fye. I mean, they brought out the best in us 100%. They found the equation that was able to get us to that next level. The fact that we had a small group of kids that came in and ran through the whole program. My senior year, I think we had probably 20-ish, 20 to 25 starters. Sorry, there's only 22 on the team. So I want to say there was 20 to 25 seniors, and most all of us had come up through that whole 4 years together. It was absolutely amazing. Everyone bonded really well. Everyone had each other's backs. It was really like nothing that I've ever been involved in my life. When I got inducted 2 years ago to the Athletic Hall of Fame, my message then is echoed 100% now. If it wasn't for my teammates, if it wasn't for the 22 players that were out there playing every day, I mean, I got to give it to everybody that was on that team, but the 22 starters, the fact that we had that core group of seniors that went all the way through, and I kind of feel like that was the same thing with the 97 team. So we graduated in 93, that core group came in 94. 3 years later, you look at 97 and look what they did. It took that bond, that presence of having your core group of people with you every day that made the team, in my opinion. There's no doubt about it. We couldn't have done it with the entire team. I mean, it was an unbelievable team. We had some coaching changes, offensive changes in our sophomore year. So it would have been in the 91-ish season. Coach Stitt went to a couple different camps, and they brought back a new offense, and that's what started it all, in my opinion. I was recruited because I was an option quarterback, a veer quarterback from Lincoln Southeast. We didn't throw the ball. That's not what I was known for. My sophomore year, they came in and they changed everything to a run and gun. It was 4 receivers, shotgun offense, let's go. It's the West Coast offense that you know in today's terms in the NFL. And I really believe that change is what caused this. That was the catalyst. That was what did it. They brought that offense back. People today even ask me, they're like, so who's your team? Who's your college team? What do you like to watch? And I'm like, I don't really watch college football. And they're like, what do you mean? Why don't you watch college football? I'm like, well, I was playing every Saturday. I didn't watch it in college. I really wasn't into it. I wasn't interested in it. We watched a lot of football on Sundays, though, when we were recovering. And they're like, well, what's your team? And I'm like, San Francisco 49ers. Why is that? I'm like, that's the offense we used to run. I said, there was so many times that I sat down watching football with my friends on Sunday, and you'd watch the 49ers, and they'd line up, and I could tell you what play they were going to run. It was either one of these two plays, and it was notorious over and over. I loved watching the Niners. I loved watching them because they were running our offense. We had a lot of fun, as our group. We did a lot of cool things together. We got to go to, where'd we go? We went to New Zealand. We went to Amsterdam, Holland, Amsterdam. I was fortunate enough to go to Finland with Sean Weigel, the assistant coach, our offensive assistant coordinator. So I was very blessed to be part of that with this university. Overall, I just feel really, 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 really fortunate to be a part of this group, that team. I love you guys. I'm glad that we're all in it. We deserve it. Love the 97 team. I'm glad you guys are in it. I appreciate it. I love it. Congratulations to everybody that's here.
Thank you, Brad. One thing I want to say about Craig, he's sitting back there. Brad mentioned Craig Rockwell. Craig, would you stand? Number 1 on your roster. But I want to tell you something about this young man that happened while he was a student at Doane. He was a lifeguard in Omaha, and he saved a little kid's life. Thanks, Craig. Team captains from 1997, they're both here tonight. We're going to lead off with Dan Tureen and Matt Reiling. So Dan, come forward. And I'm so glad that Leo is here tonight. That's awesome. I think that's awesome. Leo, good to see you again. That number 31 jersey.
All right, so try to keep this short and sweet because I know everybody's enjoying the air conditioning in here right now. So I could see some of the 93 team guys just you fading a little bit. You get over 50, it's past 8 o'clock, and it just kind of fall off a little bit. But you know, we'll get it done for you. You'll get home. You'll get into the sack. It'll all be good. So, I'm honored to speak on behalf of the '97 team. It's a great honor for the team, and I just want to extend some thank yous. Obviously, thank you to Doane. Thank you to the administration and the staff. Thank you to President Hughes. My name's Dan Tureen. President Hughes, thank you. Thank you to all the coaches and the players that are here today. And thanks to Cody, because Cody he makes this place run. He makes these things work. Cody's the heart of this place, so let's give a round of applause to Cody Vance. But a big thank you, you know, Brad mentioned kind of the tradition there. A big thank you to the '93 team also. If it wasn't for the '93 team when I came over on a recruit visit, you know, we may not be sitting here. I decided to come here because I saw championship level football being played out there. And coming from Geneva, Nebraska, we were used to championships. And I know Chad Boyce and I both decided, at least I did, he decided a year before me, that we wanted to be part of this because it looked like championship football does. And that's a big thing. So championships breed championships. And so thank you, '93 team, for how successful and devoted you were. You brought a lot of us to campus here. It's fantastic. I can't believe it's been 25, 30 years, you know, since we all wore that black and orange. Over those 25, 30 years, we've lost some loved ones and some porters who would have loved this event. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention a few of the biggest Tiger fans from my era. Dave Johnson, Judge McCardle, Sue Schwank, and my father, Leonard Treen. Love you, Dad. So, thank you. Cody talked to me, you know, a few weeks ago. I did get a little heads up. Sorry, Brad and some of the other guys who didn't get a heads up that you're going to speak tonight, but get involved with the college, and you'll know. So, I kind of thought about what to talk about that was relevant for both teams, you know, and everyone involved over the years. As I thought back on the season, there was many stories, many accomplishments, many moments, many records, touchdowns, interceptions, sacks, tackles, all those things. They're fantastic. You put them on paper. People love to look at them. They say, God, that player was good. Look at all these things he has on paper. But I kept thinking of one moment, and that moment for me was on the sideline in Findlay, Ohio, when I saw the scoreboard that said 26-25. And I knew it was over. I thought about how that moment motivated me for the next 25 years. Next 25 years, I got into coaching, and many people in this room got into coaching. You know, Smitty, a lot of guys decided to coach, Coach Bessler. They got into it because they were probably looking for that feeling that I had on the sidelines when it was 26-25, and I knew that was the end. I felt like I was always chasing that one point. And so over the years, I gave a lot of pregame speeches as a coordinator or a head coach or a position coach at times. I talked about different things to players. I talked about leadership. I talked about being a great teammate. I talked about simply doing your job. Make sure you do it the best you can do it so you don't let your teammates down. One of my favorite talks that I always gave to players at a certain point in the season was about leaving a legacy. I always said, no one remembers what you did. No one remembers what you said. They always remember how you made them feel. I thought about how did this pertain to me and the '97 team. I realized many years ago that I wasn't chasing one point. I was chasing a feeling. And not a feeling for me, but a feeling that if I could help as many players as possible feel the things that I felt being here at Doane and playing on that team, that I would create some success in my life and make up for that one point. It was a feeling of coaches like Tom Hood and Ed Fye and Dale Herman, who were your best friends. They were your brothers, they were your fathers, they were your mentors, all in one. What more could you ask for? I'd never heard anything like that. I didn't know that a coach could be all those things, and they were. It was a feeling of every day coming over here to family, to Fran, who was running the family, to all the other family members, and not feeling like I was away from home in any way. It was a feeling of walking onto that field out there and hearing that bomb go off. I think we all know that feeling. The bomb right now is good. The bomb back then was amazing. It was a feeling of confidence that no matter what, I knew we were going to win. I remember the Northwestern game. I sat in the locker room at halftime, and Jeff Bothwell had the locker next to me, which was our senior year, a strange twist of fate as two of the most polar different personalities on the team would locker next to each other. But it was a great friendship that was created out of it. But I remember looking at Troy and saying, if you score, we win, because they're not crossing the 50-yard line in the second half. And they didn't, and we won. It was a feeling of celebrating every win, celebrating that I knew that we could go down to Mike's Bar and pack that place and have coaches and family members and friends and players and tell stories to the point that they were trying to kick us out, but the place was so damn full, you couldn't even get out. You couldn't get to the bathroom. It was amazing. That's what I miss. That's the feeling I miss. All of those feelings were because of you. All you people in the room created those feelings for me. A wise coach once told me, it's not about the X's and the O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes. In reality, it was about the Jeans and the Dales. It was about the Mikes and the Smitties, and the Kyles and the Dennises. It was about the Codys and the Eds. It was about the Hoodies and the Frans. It was about everyone involved and all of their time and love that they gave to us. This brings me to one of my favorite sayings of all time. The two greatest gifts we can give to one another are our time and our love. One is fleeting and one is forever. May you all have a life filled with both. Thank you. Go Doane.
Matt, come on up. Matt Reiling played at Lincoln Pius at 10th. Come on up, Matt. Here you go. Give it up for Matt Reiling.
Thank you. Yeah. That's great. Dan, where you at? Holy cow, man. You did get a heads up. That's a bunch of, Cody, that's a bunch of crap, man. So Dan always used to make fun of me because back in '97 when we would ever have a talk or captains would address the team, I'd always go first, and he'd be pissed because it's like, how do I follow you? I can't follow you. I don't have to say anything. Now I finally feel what you were feeling back in those days. Great job, man. I don't know if I can summarize it, and I had about 8 minutes to prepare for this. I don't know if I could summarize it any better than Dan did or any better than Brad did, but a couple of things that come to mind. Thank you. I echo all the thank yous, and I think we all do. Great job of making sure we recognize everybody that put this on, but this stuff doesn't happen unless you have great teams and you have great coaches. So these things come together, and they're a byproduct of success, right? And when I look at Doane, I've been out of this, university for 25 plus years. but you think about Doane University and you think about success. And I'm really, 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 really glad that Roger is leading the ship now, because I think we're going to get back to this standard of success that we all went through, right? And I got to echo what Dan said. I came on a visit. It wasn't even an official visit. I didn't even get recruited. Our starting running back and our starting fullback linebacker got recruited, and they were going to come to the first round game. Did you guys play Bethany first round at home? So I tagged along, went to Lincoln Pius High School, and the two guys that you were recruiting were studs. And so I tagged along, and we came and went to the first round game, and I loved football. I wasn't sure I wanted to play it. I was very small, but I watched championship football, and we sat right next to the band. Was it Jay Gilbert, Dr. Jay Gilbert, right? And I remember sitting in the stands. I don't even know if I had been to Crete. Actually, that's a false. I had been to Crete to play, but I'd never been to a Doane game. And I remember we were sat right next to the band. The band was awesome. The pageantry was awesome. The atmosphere was awesome. And you guys played great football. I just remember watching NAIA football going, this is unbelievable. They are studs. Brad, I don't know if you know this. I'm the last of 7. All 6 of my siblings went to Lincoln Southeast High School. All of them. So I grew up with Southeast football. I still think they have the best fight song. We just played, my daughter's a junior, and we played volleyball against Southeast the other day at Prosh, and the fight song from Southeast coming on, I'm doing like, what the hell are you doing? So, Brad, I got a lot of respect for you, and I got a lot of respect for the 1993 team, because I saw championship football, right? And I didn't know what it meant, but I knew it was good. I knew it was successful. When I walked on campus, I saw success. And Fran, I don't know if you remember this. You had like a open recruit visit in Lincoln at the Valentino's downtown. And you were recruiting our super state wide receiver, Chad Wemoff, who wound up going to Westland and being their all-time leading receiver for a while. And I think you called me Mike when I walked in. I wasn't even on the radar, right? But I remember something you did that night. You talked about success, right? And we want to be successful. And I didn't care really much about what that meant. All I knew is you knew what you were talking about, right? And so when I think back on what Dan so eloquently described, when I look at success, right, there's a common goal. And I love the fact that we had 120 guys that would show up in fall camp. 120, right? And we'd whittle down to 70 or 80. We knew the guys that weren't going to survive. And I think about my freshman year. So post-1993, you guys come off going to the quarterfinals, I believe, right? One of the most successful seasons in Doane history. And then we come in. Pretty good freshman class. I knew nobody. And we were terrible freshman year. I think we were 2-7. And was it Wilkins? Who was the running back from your guys' crew? Was it Wilkins, right? I believe he was a senior my freshman year. And we went up to Northwestern, damn Northwestern. And it's raining and it's freezing. We're getting blanked. I'm on the sideline in the orange coat we were talking about tonight, not expecting to play. It's third quarter. And you're like, Riles, you're in. And I couldn't even feel my hands. I'm like, I don't want to go in. We're getting killed. Wilkins, though, I'll never forget Wilkins. He was our starting running back, and he was a stud freshman year. He was really good. And we were terrible. And Wilkins, I came in, and we went right to 800, which was our shotgun package. So 4 wide receivers and shotgun. I couldn't even feel my hands. I swear to God, I had half a hot dog in my mouth when Fran looked at me. But I walked into the huddle, and Wilkins goes, you got this, Matt. You got this. And I fumbled the snap, turnover, they get the ball. But the point being is that I knew that Wilkins came from success. That was a guy that played with you guys, and he was a successful player. And Dan, I think you said it, and Brad, you touched on this. We had a core group of people. Our freshman class was good, but we stuck together. And I can't really explain to you why. We were 2-7, I think, freshman year. Sophomore year, we were 3-6. Rockwell, you were on that team my sophomore year. Shannon Pogendorf, 2 wide receivers that had been and played on the 93 team, and we stunk. But we had this group of guys that were like, you know what? We're just going to ride this thing out, right? And it was a discovery thing where we figured out that, A, we don't want to be terrible, and B, we're willing to do what it takes to be great. I didn't understand it 25 years ago, what it meant to be great. All I knew was there was a standard here at that time that had been set by you guys that we had to fulfill. And Fran, you did a great job of making sure that we understood that. You never pressured us to be great. You just pressured us to do our job. And Gene, I think the thing I remember most about you, that was such, as I look back on it now, that was a pressure-filled situation for you to come in and be an offensive coordinator in a system that was brand new. Brad, I echo it. The West Coast offense was awesome. Bill Walsh, San Francisco 49ers, zone read, zone blocking scheme, right? No man-to-man, right? Cutback lanes, sprint spots, play action. It was awesome for me because I didn't want to run the option because I was terrible and I was small. But this offense allowed for our really, really good skilled players to be really, really good skilled players, right? And Bob, I know you brought that in. And Gene, you had the very difficult job of learning that brand new offense. It wasn't just brand new to us, it was brand new to everybody, right? And so the growing pains of us being terrible freshman year, being awful sophomore year, but growing together in the off season, doing the weights, right? Showing up at 6 o'clock, right? Putting in the extra time at practice and knowing that we have the ability was something that I don't know if you can coach it. I don't know if you can teach it. I think it needs to be something that comes organically. And if you look at our progression, I think what put us over the line in 1997, the reason why we had the success that we had is because we failed in 96. We were really, really good in 1996. We had great senior leadership. Our freshman class, well, now we're juniors, had come along, and we were pretty damn good. And we absolutely crapped the bed against Midland and Dana. Had the lead against Midland, kicking their tails, and we screwed it up. Dana, I mean, they're not even in existence anymore. Somehow we lose to them, and we're screwed. We go 7-2, and we miss the playoffs, which is crazy. 7-2 gets you in now. I was pissed that we weren't fighting harder as an administration to go, why are we not in, right? I hated the ratings back then and how they did that. But we were 7-2, a good team. We had beat Northwestern, right? Second year in a row, and we missed it. And I'll never, ever, ever forget that feeling at the end of junior year when we knew what we had. And we're like, this is BS. We are not going to take no for an answer, and we are going to do everything we can. You had guys, the funny thing is NAIA, right? Really no rules, okay? Somewhat supervision, right? But I mean, you know, we're not peeing in the bathrooms and doing all that stuff. I mean, we had guys that absolutely dedicated themselves to being great, and we said in 97, there's no stopping us, right? And I think it is a byproduct of failure. I think failure taught us how to be great. And I do want to thank the 93 team because for me personally, I was able to see a team that Doane respected as an institution. So coming in, all the talk was about 93. This was the team. Yeah, the team, you know, Cody's talking to me about the team in the 60s that went undefeated. I get that, and that's great. That's a hell of a deal, and it's a hell of an accomplishment, but it doesn't compute to me, right? 3 seasons of undefeated don't compute to me to do what 1993 did just a year prior to when we got there. So there is a foundational piece to success, I think. And kudos to Fran, kudos to Gene, kudos to Tom of setting the standard of success. And that's what they did right away, right? Even from the time we were 2-7 freshman year and terrible to the time that we are widely now, we are the best football team at Doane College. I still believe we have the record, right? 11-1, the 97 team, right? So that is the best team that has ever walked through this institution. And guess what? We're not there without 93. It doesn't happen. So what Brad talked about, iron sharpens iron, success breeds success, winning breeds winning. And that is a complete byproduct of that. So I have nothing but respect for you guys, and I couldn't have echoed it any better than Brad did, that everybody that's a part of that, there's a ton of guys that aren't here. I'm disappointed by that. There's a ton of guys that played a huge, huge role in the success of both of these teams. I guarantee you, you guys can sit over there and talk about one or two dudes that maybe had a hand in a game or two that maybe never even played the rest of the year, but they made one play or did one thing that changed the course and the trajectory of your year, right? We can point to Kyle Poor. We can point to Kyle Poor. Kyle Poor was an equipment manager for us. And I don't know if you guys know the story. There's a video playing up there. We play second round at Evangel College, all right? We had just come off killing Southwestern Kansas at home. We go down to Springfield, Missouri. Is that right, Fran? To play Evangel College. They got a 6'5" D1 quarterback. They're huge. And everybody's picked us to lose and lose by a wide margin. And they had one of the dirtiest players I've ever seen ever. And this guy, we're kicking their tail, right? This thing's getting out of hand. And there's a play where we run, I don't know, sweep or option around the left side, and their strong safety underruns the play. Our guy goes, and he runs into our sideline, and it's clear as day on film, and he jacks Kyle Poor, our equipment manager. Jacks him, punches him in the face, and it's actually hilarious. So if you saw it and you didn't know who the guy was, you'd laugh at it. But he punches this guy in the face, right? And we're up. And to me, the reaction of Kyle Poor, an equipment manager, who all Kyle wanted to do was be a part. He wanted to play his part. He loved our team. He loved traveling. He loved doing his role, and he was an equipment manager. Kyle jumps up. I mean, he gets smoked. Jumps up, and he's got a huge cut, dusts himself off, goes right back to doing what he's doing, and we wipe this team for the rest of the time. And I'll never forget it, and it makes our highlight film, and I still talk to Kyle about that today, but I never understood the significance of something so minute and stupid that happened 30 years ago. That guy would have stood in front of a bus for us at any point of that season as an equipment manager, because he had the wherewithal to understand what was going on. He knew something special was happening. And the other thought I have from that year is, I'll never forget what your wife said. I'll never forget it. We win the NIAC, we go 9-0, we wipe Wesleyan at the end of the year on their turf. Chad Wemhoff, super state, best man in my wedding. We kicked their ass, and he should have come to Doane, right? I told him, you should have come to Doane, right? And we kicked their butt. And I'll never forget, we get to the playoffs, and your wife makes this note of, why not us? Guys, you got to understand, we never really thought about a national championship. We never thought about that. It was one game at a time, and Coach Gene and Tom and Fran were so great about us putting one foot in front of the other. That's all I swear to God, I never thought about postseason. I never thought about a national championship. I never thought about any of that stuff. All I thought about was, how are we going to win the next game? How are we going to win the next play, right? And we get to the postseason, and your wife goes, she makes a sign. It was in our locker room, why not us? And I remember reading it as we were running out to practice. And it spoke to me because for the very first time, I started thinking on a national level. I was like, wait a minute. Shit, we're number 2 in the country, right? We can win this. There's no reason why we can't win the national championship. And I thank her for that, because that was really the first time we started thinking on sort of a national scale. And then we kill Southwestern, we kill Evangel. And we all know what happened in Findlay, but let me tell you this, and I'll end with this. Dan, you did a great job. Dan talked about how certain things breed character, and we all think about the last loss. You're only as good as your last loss, right? It doesn't matter in business or whatever it is that you're doing. The thing I always took away from Findlay was, and I'll die on my deathbed, the national championship was played that day. I firmly believe that. Now, I know it's not going to go down in the annals of that. The coolest thing was on the field in our despair. I mean, it was despair. Dan's lost his father. I lost my father. You're in that moment of pure despair. We had Findlay fans walking down on the field in tears for us, our team, because the way we conducted ourselves, because the way we traveled, right? Because the way the coaches connected and carried themselves that day, and the way that we were gracious in defeat, right? We knew we did everything that we possibly could, And it took me a long time to come to terms with that. But what I took away from that was, in those moments of utter despair and ultimate despair, if you don't find the opportunity for grace and you don't find the opportunity for improvement, that stuff eats you up, right? And it ate me up. It ate me up for a long, long time. But now I know, as I have kids that are in sports, and we all have kids in sports, and we're in our jobs, and we're trying to motivate people, I will never, ever, ever forget the feeling that I had that day. I can remember a lot of stuff. Some stuff I forget, but I will never, ever forget fumbling on the last play, getting sacked, and turning around and looking at that scoreboard that we had lost by 1 point, because I knew, like Dan, I was going to chase that feeling, right, and make sure I never had it again. So, Roger, I'm really excited about you. I'm really excited about Doane University. This is really neat. We need to do it on a grander scale. There's a ton of guys that were involved in both teams that we need to get here, and we need them to see this. And I really appreciate the 1993 guys for being here. And Cody, thank you so much for making sure that this happened. And Fran, thanks for coming back. Coach Gene, thanks for coming back. And thank you to all of you for being here and being a part of this. And man, I can't believe it took 30 years, but it's gone by fast. So thank you again, and congratulations to everybody that got inducted.
Thank you, Matt. You're a winner. Get through the rest of this rather quickly. Just want to mention other 1993 and 97 coaches. Ed Fye was a secondary coach, not here tonight. His son Landon is playing high school ball tonight. Dale Herman, would you stand? Dale, defensive line coach for both teams. Hermie, great to see you. Great to see Dale every time. 1993 coaches, Sean Weigel, Jesse Nelson, student coaches Paul Burkhalter and Kevin Smith. 1997 coaches, Shannon Smith, please stand. Receivers coach, Mike Carnes, outside linebacker coach. Scott Beeler is here. Scott, tight ends coach. He's in the back talking to Hoodie. Kevin King, running backs coach. Dan O'Brien, defensive assistant, is out of town tonight. Student coach Nate Workman, and Matt already referred to Kyle Poor, assistant equipment manager. Speaking of that topic, our current equipment manager, sitting right down here at this table, was the equipment manager for both teams. Denny McElravy is in his 59th year serving as our equipment manager. Denny's only missed a handful of games during that time frame, and thank you for your ovation. It's very well deserved, and I'm glad to call him a great friend of mine. He's a great friend of Doane and Doane Football. A few more thank yous. After our home games, we were treated to homemade goodies and cold drinks pretty close to where we are now. I want to recognize our football boosters who made that happen. You need not stand, but if you want to put a hand in the air, we'd greatly appreciate that. All of us remember the post-game festivities here not too far away from where we are now. Marilyn McElravy. Marilyn made the best raisin bars ever. Eunice McCardle, right down here. And the late Pat McCardle, the judge. Son Tim McCardle was a member of the chain crew. Jerry Johnson is right here. Jerry, one of the hosts after the game, her late husband Dave ran the play clock in 93 and 97, and Dave got a big kick out of things when I screwed up as an announcer. And he would chuckle, and he loved it. The more frustrated I got, the better he liked it. Gary and Sandy McFarland are here. Gary ran the scoreboard. Sandy helped with the refreshments after the game. Connie Vanorny was a very important person as a part of that. The late Sue Schwenk, who left us too early, but will always be in our hearts. Speaking of Sue, she produced the 1997 Banquet of Champions program. You'll see it on the table. Be sure to grab that, especially if you're on the 97 team. Until Thursday, we had been unable to find an original program for duplication until librarian Jane Germer found it in Doane's archives, whereupon Lisa Wells from our Service Bureau made the copies for tonight. And thanks to those people for making that happen. I know that was very important to Fran. Other game day workers, Dave Dawson on the scoreboard, his wife Susie, Dan McAravey on the chain crew and his wife Deb, they are here tonight. Kind of a family affair on the chains. Don McAravey at that time as well on the chain crew. The late Gail Bowling on the chain crew and his wife Pat, who is still on staff at Doane. Pat's in the back waving. Thank you, Pat. Gail was the guy who I would see him walking to the stadium. And the closer Gail got to the stadium, the bigger his grin was, because he was going to be at that stadium. He was going to be on that chain crew. And when Gail was on that field, he was on another level. We miss him. We love him. We've not forgotten about him. And Pat, thank you for being here. Gail loved Doane football. Son Corey played at Doane as well. It's great to have Corey and Kate and their family back in town. The late Fritz Bull ran the game clock in 1993. I remember the playoff game against Bethany, and Fritz was on the clock, and the first thing that happened was the scoreboard went off completely, and I don't think we had it the rest of the game. Another thing I had to remind Fritz once in a while, he'd have the Nebraska game on radio, I'd be listening to that, said, Fritz, you might want to stop the clock. The officials are waving such. And so, but he had a good time. The late Leonard Sand, play clock, game clock, both years. I probably shouldn't do this, but the stadium announcer since 1979, not sure anyone remembers him, a recent inductee into our Athletic Hall of Fame. So it's my pleasure.
It's called karma, Cody.
Thank you, Jim. So much for those new batteries. Some other folks, President Emeritus Dr. Fred Brown was here tonight. I think without his support, our football program, those teams would not have been as successful as they were. Our former band director was here tonight, Dr. J.W. Gilbert. His first year at Doane was in 1993, and our great pep band was instrumental in assisting our football team with accomplishing a great season. That was a magical year. The team was great, the band was great. I want to thank some other folks as well, and Smitty, this is scripted. I want to thank a plethora of people who assisted in putting this event together. Fresh Ideas, Peyton is in the back. Thank you, Peyton. Thank you, Jaime. We have a new food service here at Doane, Fresh Ideas. They're great. Thanks to Mike Stellick from the alumni office who helped with registration. Michelle Faltine was there as well. Patty Lavelle, our person in charge of events. Patty is around here tonight. President's office, thanks to Roger. Thanks to Janae. Alumni office, Nina Tyler, Mike Stellick, Michelle Faltine. This office did the majority of the work on this event. End of quote. Rick Schmecker is in the press box, our sports information director, who is recording this event for later viewing on YouTube. This will be on YouTube in perpetuity. Please tell your family and friends that this ceremony will be available on YouTube. Just search Doane Athletic Hall of Fame or DSN1 or DSN2, and you'll find this, and you'll find our other Athletic Hall of Fame ceremonies on YouTube as well. This will be on probably be put on during the month of October. Ryan Dorhurst from our IT department, Amos Joseph, also from IT, who will add the bios of these teams to our Athletic Hall of Fame kiosk in the lobby of the Haddock Center. The Corner Liquor Store. Thank you guys for being here. Soshi and her crew, Jason. Quick story. I told Soshi when she first started doing this, we usually just at these events have beer, wine, bottled water, and pop. Nothing more. She sent me a picture of her extensive cash bar. I said, that'll work. That'll be just fine. My good friend Jim Niffler from the class of '83 for providing photography services. And right when we're done, we're just about done, I want to get a picture of the players and the coaches for the '93 team. We're going to do that over by the balloons. And then right after that, the '97 team, we'll get those pictures out of the way. '93 will be first, so that's our first stop right after this. Laura Hughes, wife of President Roger Hughes. Thanks to Laura, she's a great fan of Doane Athletics. Probably doing other things now, other activities. Lots of them going on tonight. We're lucky to have a very great person who came to Doane from Stetson University, our athletic director, Mark Wateska, and his wife, Kim. Thank you, guys. It's great to have you here. We're glad that you are here. I'm sure that I have missed some people, and if I did, I apologize. Can anyone think of anybody that I missed that I should have thanked? Yes, Goofy. I should have thanked you? Okay. You guys are marshmallows. Again, we've made copies of the '93 team roster. Those are on the table. Oh, Hermie. Yeah, definitely, the coaches' wives. Thank you. That's a miss on my part. Mona, Sue, everybody, Connie. And it's good to see you again. Good to see you. Class of '93 team, after your picture's done. The '93 team, not the class of '93. The '93 team, after we're done taking your picture, I want you to go over to that video board. Okay? We got the end of the Hastings game on YouTube, including Brad, I know you didn't throw the ball into the crowd after you scored the winning touchdown, costing us 15 yards on the kickoff, but I think that's on there. And the fight after the game on the field, that was interesting as well. And that was a fun. We had beaten them 17-14. They ran out of gas at our 8-yard line, and there was a full-blown brawl at the end. I went out to see Mark Bramer, one of my best friends, and he was having a discussion with someone from the other team. Again, be sure to take this paper with you. Again, congratulations to these two great football teams who will be forever in our Athletic Hall of Fame. At 10 o'clock tonight, we invite you, and my good friend Greg Mock is here. We invite you to continue the celebration at Old Main Bar and Grill in downtown Crete. This establishment is owned by Pat Reed and former defensive lineman number 96, Greg Mock, on the '93 team. Great food and drink. And Greg, where are you? Right there. That's the place to go after this game. They have great food. They've got cold drinks. Probably the patio is open. And keep that in mind not only today but also tomorrow. One last announcement before we take photos. Tomorrow, listen carefully, players and coaches. I will introduce these teams at halftime of the homecoming football game at approximately 1:45 p.m. This will occur very early during halftime, so players and coaches, please gather on the north end of the track at the end of the first half. and then walk toward the area in front of the home grandstand to be greeted by Athletic Director Mark Wateska and President Roger Hughes. Move quickly, as I have a ton of things to announce at halftime. For complimentary admission to the game, just mention, quote, "I'm being honored at halftime," unquote, and you will be admitted for free. You may also mention that you are a special guest of Cody's, and that is also a magic word. That will work too. With all of that being said, thank you and good evening, and I'll see you at halftime tomorrow. The 93 team and coaches, let's get that picture done right now.